Welcome to another lecture. In previous lecture, we started our discussions on single phase, full wave, half controlled converter or single phase semi-converter. And we have analyzed the operation of converter, semi-converter for two different loading conditions. Number one for purely resistive load and second was for RL load, that's resistive inductive load. We also derived mathematical expression for converter average output voltage. And the mathematical expression for converter average output voltage was Vd is equal to root 2 Vs by pi 1 plus cos alpha. You should remember one thing, that this expression is valid only for continuous conduction mode of operation. Continuous conduction mode, which is also called CCM. So there are two different modes of operation of converter. One is called continuous conduction mode of operation and another is discontinuous conduction mode of operation. Whether converter is operating in continuous conduction mode or in discontinuous conduction mode depends upon the load current. If load current is continuously flowing, then we call it continuous conduction mode of operation. And if load current is discontinuous, we call it discontinuous conduction mode of operation. For example, you have seen in yesterday's lecture, for sufficiently inductive load, the load was modeled as current source ID, and this was the current. Current was all throughout continuous. So this gives continuous conduction mode of operation. And if load current is discontinuous, something like this, so it is rising, falling, and becoming discontinuous, then it is called discontinuous conduction mode of operation. This mathematical expression for converter average output voltage is valid only for CCM, continuous conduction mode of operation, not for discontinuous conduction mode of operation. I will explain it later on when we discuss operation of converter for RL E-type load, for active load. It will be very much clear to you. So today we will discuss the operation of converter for third type of load, that is active load. I will write here active load or RLE load. RLE load. As you already know, I have already told you when we were discussing operation of a single phase half wave converter for RLE load. An active load or RLE load is that load which has its own source of energy or which has its own voltage or EMF. The examples of an active load are battery load or motor load. Both battery has its own voltage, motor also has its own back EMF. Like for example, if you are feeding a DC motor from an AC to DC converter, and you know DC motor has a back EMF EB. So both these two are the examples of active load. So let me draw the power circuit diagram first. This is the power circuit diagram of a single phase semi converter feeding an active load and RLE load. So these are thyristors T1 and T2, and these are the power diodes D1 and D2. This is the AC side or source side. The source voltage is sinusoidal AC voltage Vs and source current is Is. This is the load side. Now load is having a resistance, it's having inductance, and it is having its own voltage or EMF plus minus E. Now the load voltage is, this is positive bus, this is negative bus, load voltage is Vd, and let us call load current as Id. So this is the power circuit diagram of a single phase half controlled converter or single phase semi converter feeding an active load and RLE load, as you can see. Now we can understand again the operation of this converter for RLE load. Its operation will be clear only using the graphical approach, that is waveforms. Let us draw various waveforms. Here again we will discuss first discontinuous conduction mode of operation. See, your converter can operate in continuous conduction mode. In continuous conduction mode, the load current is continuous, or the converter can operate in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, where load current will not be continuous, it will be discontinuous. So first of all, we will discuss the operation of a single phase semi-converter for active load or RLE load, assuming discontinuous conduction mode of operation, DCM. And let us draw various waveforms. Now, first waveform is for source voltage. So these are the zero crossings, 0, pi, 2 pi, and so on. And this is your source voltage Vs. Now, since load is having its own voltage, EMF or voltage E, let us assume this is E. This is E. This is E. I am writing here E. So this straight line is E. Now, let me show you the firing pulse pattern. As we already know, thyristor T1 will be fired in the positive half cycles of source voltage, and thyristor T2 will be fired in the negative half cycles of source voltage. So, gating current pattern or firing pulse pattern is like this. Now, the question is, where should I apply the firing pulse? Should I apply firing pulse here, 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 or beyond this point? Just recall when we were discussing single phase half wave converter feeding an RLE load, an active load. There I have already established one fact that when the converter is feeding an active load, an RLE load, firing angle or minimum delay angle or minimum firing angle can be this point of intersection between E and Vs. You cannot have delay angle below this value, less than this value. This is minimum delay angle, alpha min. If you want to fire your thyristor here or here, below this point, you will fail to fire the thyristor. The reason being, below this point, below the point of minimum delay angle, you can see E is greater than Vs. This is instantaneous. This is source voltage, and these are the instantaneous values of source voltage, and this is loads EMF, loads voltage E. So let us take this point. At this point, you can see the source voltage Vs has an instantaneous value of this much, and you can see it is less than E. Now, since Vs is less than E, that means the voltage, source voltage is less than the voltage of the load. The thyristor T1 will be reverse biased because it is anode potential is Vs and its cathode potential is E. Now, both are positive. Vs is positive, E is also positive, but an anode potential, which is source voltage Vs, is less than cathode potential, which is E. Since anode potential is less than cathode potential, that means the SCR is reverse biased. Even if you issue the firing pulse to thyristor, it will not trigger. Therefore, the minimum firing angle has to be this. At this point, let us call this point as point P. I will write here at point P. What is omega T? Omega T, let us call omega T equal to alpha, delay angle, alpha, and let us suppose firing pulse is issued. And at P, we can say Vs is equal to exactly E. This is the point of intersection between Vs and E. So Vs is exactly equal to E. What is Vs? Vs is Vm sine omega T. But what is omega T? Omega T is alpha. So Vm sine alpha is equal to E. So this will give us sine alpha equal to E by Vm. So from here you can get minimum delay angle, alpha min, equal to sine inverse of E by Vm. This is very important relation. We have already derived or got this relation when we were discussing operation of a single phase half wave converter feeding an RLE load. Same relation. So minimum delay angle you can find by this relation, sine inverse E by Vm. If you know load AMF E, and if you know source voltage, RMS value of source voltage, you can find its peak value. So sine inverse of E by Vm will give you minimum delay angle, and that is this. This is minimum delay angle. So therefore you cannot have firing angle or delay angle less than this. This is the minimum delay angle. Delay angle has to be either this alpha min or more than this. You cannot issue firing pulses below this point. You have to issue firing pulse either here or beyond this point. So this is minimum delay angle. So let us assume that we issue firing pulse somewhere here, say at this instant, in the positive half cycle. So let me take the, so this is issuance of firing pulse. So firing pulse is issued to, after a delay of alpha degrees, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1 because this is the positive half cycle of source voltage. And then comes the negative half cycle of source voltage. In the negative half cycle of source voltage, firing pulse has to be issued to thyristor T2 because T2 is fired during negative half cycle. And this is the firing pulse. And this is the firing pulse to thyristor T2. And what is the delay angle? It is pi plus alpha. This is pi and this is pi plus alpha. And then in the next positive half cycle, firing pulse is again issued to thyristor T1. This is another firing pulse. This is issued to thyristor T1. And in the next negative half cycle, firing pulse is again issued to thyristor T2. So during the positive half cycles, after a delay of alpha degrees, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1. And in the negative half cycles, again after a delay of alpha, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T2. So this shows the firing pulse pattern for thyristors T1 and T2. Now, let us draw the load voltage and load current waveform. For drawing the load voltage waveform, I have to take these zero crossing projections down. I have to show these zero crossing projections. This is zero crossing pi. This is already 0 pi, and then this is 2 pi. Similarly, this is another zero crossing 3 pi. This is next zero crossing 4 pi, and so on. Now my load voltage, let me draw dotted load voltage waveform, which is not the actual load voltage waveform, which is the load voltage waveform if we would have a diode bridge rectifier and E would have been absent there. Anyway, so where is E? E is somewhere here. Let me draw E also dotted. This is E. Okay, fine. Where is the first firing instant? First firing instant is here. So your first firing pulse gets applied to the thyristor somewhere here. So this is the delay of alpha. So after a delay of alpha degrees, thyristor during the positive half cycle of source voltage, at this point, thyristor T1 is fired. Okay, fine. So that means from 0 to alpha, thyristor T1 is not fired. We are delaying the firing of thyristor T1. So all the 4 devices are off. T1 is off, T2 is off, D1 is off, D2 is off. So when all the 4 devices are off, your load is disconnected from the source from 0 to alpha. So therefore, what is your load voltage? Load voltage is not 0. Load has its own voltage E. So load voltage from 0 to alpha is E. Let me show that. So this is E. From 0 to alpha, load voltage is E. Fine. So at alpha, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1 as shown here. As soon as firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1, since this is already forward biased, it was waiting for firing pulse, it along with diode D1, power diode D1 will go into conduction. So T1 D1 pair will go into conduction and current will flow like this. So source current will come, it will flow through T1 and it becomes the load current. So this is the direction of flow of load current. So current flows through T1 through the load and then it returns to the source through D1. So T1 and D1 conduct. So before I show T1 and D1, let me first of all show these firing instants. This was first firing instant. This is the second firing instant. Fine. This is the third firing instant. This is the next. So first of all, you should always show these firing instants. Now, as soon as thyristor T1 is fired here, T1 D1 pair goes into connection and current starts flowing. So ID, load current starts building up. So load current will start flowing, load current will rise. And since we have an RL load, load current will not reach, load current will reach its peak value between pi by 2 and pi. This fact has been already established by us while discussing single phase half wave converter. For a purely resistive load current ID or current I reaches its peak value at omega t equal to pi by 2. For a For a purely inductive load, current reaches its peak value at omega t equal to pi. So therefore, for RL load, current will reach its peak value between pi by 2 and pi. So this is pi by 2 and this is pi. So current reaches its peak value between pi by 2 and pi, say somewhere here. So it has already reached peak value. Then it will start decreasing, it will start falling. Let us suppose it falls and finally it becomes 0 at this point. Let's call this angle as beta. So this is your load current. Load current ID for positive half cycle. Okay, and then thyristor T2 is fired in the negative half cycle somewhere here. As soon as thyristor T2 is fired, T2 D2 conduct and current in the load flows in the same direction. Current comes from here, it flows through T2, then load, and it returns through D2. So current again starts rising. In the next half cycle, it reaches peak value somewhere here, and then it falls, it becomes 0 somewhere here. And this continues in the subsequent half cycles. So this is the nature of load current. So I am showing you the load current. So once you know the pattern of load current, you can very easily draw the load voltage waveform. Now from 0 to alpha, there is no current. Load current is 0, no device is on. Your load is disconnected from the source from 0 to alpha. So your load voltage is equal to voltage of the load itself, E. At omega t equal to alpha, that means after alpha delay angle, firing pulse during the positive half cycle of source voltage, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1 at alpha. So T1 immediately goes into conduction and current flows like this, right? Let me show you the equivalent circuit. The equivalent circuit of the converter when thyristor T1 is fired is like this. This is the positive half cycle of source voltage plus minus. Thyristor T1 goes on and this is your load. And then D1 also conducts. This is D1. So this is the conduction of T1 and D1. This is your source current IS and it is same as load current ID. And load voltage is VD. So when T1 and D1 are conducting like this, T1, D1, this is the equivalent circuit, your load gets connected to source. So your load voltage is same as source voltage, VD is equal to VS. So remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage appears across the load, and that is this. From alpha to pi is the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. So therefore load voltage becomes equal to source voltage. So this is Vs. From 0 to alpha, load voltage was equal to E because converter was off. From alpha to pi, what is the pair of devices which is conducting? T1 and D1. And when T1 and D1 are conducting, your load gets connected to source. The remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage gets applied across the load. Fine. At omega t equal to pi, your source voltage becomes 0, load voltage also becomes 0. So what happens from pi to beta? Now you can see from pi to beta, current is still flowing. Okay. At omega t equal to pi, voltage becomes 0, source voltage becomes 0, load voltage also becomes 0, but load current is not 0. Your inductor is still releasing the energy and it has not yet released all the energy. It takes time. So beyond pi up to beta, current is still flowing. So what happens from pi to beta? From pi to beta, it's very interesting. Since source voltage has become 0, load voltage has also become 0, but current is still flowing. And then comes the negative half cycle of source voltage. And when negative half cycle of source voltage comes, it is time for thyristor T2 to trigger. But we are not triggering thyristor T2 at pi. We are delaying the triggering of thyristor from pi to, this is pi plus alpha. We are triggering thyristor here after a delay of alpha. So what will happen from pi to alpha, or let us see first from pi to beta. From pi to beta, thyristor T2 is not triggered. It's waiting for firing pulse, but its firing pulse has not issued to it. Load current is still flowing. What is the path for this load current? Now, if you see this circuit, the load current has different paths. T1, D1 was previously conducting at omega t equal to pi. Source voltage is 0, load voltage is also 0, but load current is not 0. So T1, D1 is conducting. The question is, since load current is still flowing, load current can take same path. I mean, it can flow through same T1 and D1. I mean, this is your source voltage. After omega t equal to pi, your source voltage becomes negative. One path is this, T1 it will continue to conduct because it was previously conducting. This is your load, RLE load, and this is D1. So your load current can continue to flow through T1 and D1 after omega t equal to pi. Up to omega t equal to pi, T1, D1 is conducting, no problem, current is flowing. And after omega t equal to pi, your source voltage is becoming negative. So you can see I have reversed the polarity of source voltage. Question is, when source voltage becomes negative, load current is still flowing. So load current can take the same path. This is one path. Another path for load current is this branch, T2 and D1. It can flow through T2, D1, but it will not because T2 is not yet fired. T2 will be fired at this instant after alpha. So since T2 is waiting for the firing pulse, it has not been fired. So T2, this path is not possible. Any path involving thyristor T2 will not be taken by the current. So then current is left with two paths. One is, since T1, D1 was conducting, current will take the same path. In that case, this will be the equivalent circuit. Another path is, since T1 is already conducting, D2 will start conducting, and this load current will take this T1, D2 path. So in that case, equivalent circuit will be like this. T1 is already conducting, D2, which is the power diode of the same branch, it will also start conducting, and this is your load, RLE load, RLE. Since load current is flowing, load current will continue to flow through this path. There is source also. I'm not showing source because current is not coming from source in this case. So therefore, beyond omega t equal to pi, from omega t equal to pi to beta, current is flowing, load current is still flowing. I am telling you that this current has two paths. One is, since previously T1, D1 was conducting, current will continue, T1, D1 will continue to conduct, and current will take same path, T1, D1. So in that case, this is the equivalent circuit. Another possibility for current is to flow from, since T1 is already on, D2 will also turn on automatically because it is a diode, it doesn't need firing pulse. So current can take this path also. Now, if you ask me question, sir, which path current will take? Current has this path, T1, D1. In that case, has to flow through the source. Or current has this path. In this case, the current will be freewheeling through this branch. It will not go to the source. Out of these two paths, current will prefer this path because remember, current always chooses a path of low resistance. In this case, if current chooses this path, T1 and D1, it has to flow through the source. Now you can see if this is the load current ID, it has to flow through the source. Source has already reversed its polarity. Previously, it was positive. Now source, beyond omega t equal to pi, source voltage becomes negative. And since this is the positive potential, this is the negative potential, and current is flowing opposite to the source voltage. Source voltage is like, see, this is your source voltage, minus plus, and current is trying to flow opposite to this polarity of the voltage. The polarity of the source voltage opposes the flow of the current because it is plus minus like this. Current is flowing into the positive terminal. So this polarity of the voltage opposes the flow of current. But current can still flow. But in this case, current will find a very high resistance to its flow because the source has reversed its polarity and it will oppose the flow of current. What is the other path? Other path is through this. So in this case, current has to still, it will be offered no resistance. Assuming these devices to be ideal, what will be their resistance? 0. So therefore, you can show this branch as like this. T1 is on, D2 is on, so they act as a short, and this is your load, RLE, and load current will freewheel, ID will freewheel through. Now what is this T1? T1 is on, D2 is on, and they virtually present zero resistance to the flow of current. So therefore, current can very easily flow through this freewheeling path because they find no impedance, no opposition to the flow of current. So therefore, I repeat, from omega t equal to pi to beta, current has two paths. One is through T1, D1, which was the previous path, and another is through T1, D2. Out of the two paths, the first path provides large opposition to the flow of current because source voltage has reversed its polarity and this source voltage opposes the flow of current. So current finds very hard to flow through the source. And another path is if current flows through T1 and T2, this branch. And here, when current flows through T1 and T2, since T1 was already previously conducting, it will continue to conduct. And D2 will automatically turn on. So these present zero resistance to the flow of current. So therefore, out of these two paths, current will choose this path to flow. So therefore, current will freewheel through T1 and D2. And during the freewheeling action, what is the voltage across load? Since these are the load terminals are shorted by T1 and D2. What is voltage across short? Voltage across short is zero. So therefore, voltage across the load during freewheeling action is zero. By mistake, I had told you yesterday when I was explaining this concept to you that when beyond omega t equal to pi, the voltage, load voltage will become negative. It will not become negative. At omega t equal to pi, load voltage has already become zero. So it will continue to be zero because the load current will choose this path. And since load is shorted by T1 and T2, the voltage across short is zero. So load voltage will be zero, not negative. So therefore, you can see from omega t equal to pi to beta, the small time interval, pi to beta, A time interval, the current, load current will be freewheeling through T1 and D2. And when load current is freewheeling through T1, I will write here T1 D2 pair is now conducting. What is load voltage? Since load current is freewheeling through this pair of devices, voltage across this branch is zero, so load voltage is zero. This is the freewheeling action. Okay. So therefore, from alpha to pi, T1 D1 pair is conducting, load gets connected to source, remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage gets applied across the load. And from pi to beta, load current is still flowing, but it freewheels through T1 and D2. And during the freewheeling action, it is shorted by this pair of devices. And during the short circuiting condition, load voltage is zero. You can see load voltage when T1 D2 freewheeling action takes place, load voltage is zero. At omega t equal to beta, current now extinguishes. It is gone. Current is zero. And as soon as current becomes zero, there is no current in the load, no current from the source coming from the source. So all the four devices will be now turned off. Since load current has become zero, T1 will be automatically turned off. D2 will also be automatically turned off. These two are already turned off. So that means your load is isolated from source. Okay. So equivalent circuit in that case becomes like this. From beta to pi plus alpha. This is the equivalent circuit. Yeah, आपका source side है, source. So your load is disconnected from the source. So what is load voltage? Load voltage is same as its own EMF, E. So this is load voltage. It is equal to E. Yeah, आपकी load voltage है E. So load voltage is equal to E up to next instant of firing. Why is next instant of firing? After pi plus alpha. ये pi है आपका और ये pi plus alpha. I have already written here. This is pi plus alpha. At omega t equal to pi plus alpha, negative half cycle of source voltage is there. That means this terminal has become positive with this terminal. Thyristor T2 was waiting for the firing pulse, and firing pulse is issued at omega t equal to pi plus alpha. Thyristor T2 will immediately go into conduction, and as the thyristor T2 goes into conduction, current will now flow like this. Through T2, then through load, and return path will be provided through D2 and back. So therefore, if you draw the equivalent circuit will be like this. Now source voltage has reversed its polarity. You are going through the negative half cycle of source voltage. This is plus, this is minus. Now T2 has been fired at omega t equal to pi plus alpha. T2 D2 will immediately go into conduction. So T2 goes into conduction. It results in the flow of load current ID. This is your load, RLE load. This is RLE. And return path is through D2. Yeah, आपका D2 है, power diode D2, and current goes back. This is your source current, IS. Now you can see when T2 conducts, ये positive terminal यहाँ आ जाता है, and when D2 conducts, this negative potential comes here. So your load voltage is still positive, plus minus, and it is equal to Vs. Okay, so your load voltage from pi plus alpha to 2 pi is equal to segment of negative half cycle of source voltage. So this is the negative half cycle of source voltage. इसका बाकी segment ये है, but it appears as positive voltage across the load. So that's what I am showing here, positive voltage across the load. So that means from this instant to this, that's pi plus alpha to 2 pi. What is the pair of devices which is conducted? T2, D2, T2, D2. I will show here T2, D2. उसके बाद 2 pi से 2 pi plus beta ये point तक. Your source voltage has become 0, but current is still flowing. Freewheeling action will take place. Now again, freewheeling, current, since load current has not become 0, load current has two paths. Either it will flow through T2, D2, or it will flow through T2 and D1. T2 is already conducting, D1 will conduct. If it flows through T2, D2, उसके बाद आपका positive half cycle आ जाता है, ये plus, ये minus, so current will find opposition. So this polarity of voltage will oppose the current. Another easier path for the current, load current, is to flow, since T2 is already conducting, D1 will also go into conduction, it will flow through T2, D1. And since it flows through T2, D1, so we can say current freewheels through T2 and D1. And when current freewheels through T2 and D1, it is shorted by this T2 and D1, and voltage across the load is 0. So therefore there is freewheeling action again from 2 pi to 2 pi plus beta. What is the pair of devices which is conducting? T2 and D1, and load voltage is 0. And then cycle repeats. उसके बाद आपकी load voltage फिर से E के बराबर हो जाती है, and then again positive half cycle of source voltage, and then again this. So this is the nature of load voltage. Okay, so this is your ID load current, and this is load voltage VT. So therefore, if you have a look at the nature of load voltage, we identify three different intervals or three different modes. First mode is from alpha to pi. You can see, let us take this half cycle. From alpha to pi, or let us take from 0 to alpha. From 0 to alpha, no device is conducting. Or let us start with the firing of first thyristor T1. Let us start from alpha to pi. From alpha to pi, thyristor pair, the pair of devices T1 and D1 are conducting, and load gets connected to the source, and it receives the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. So therefore, during this period, thyristor T1 is conducting, and D1 is also conducting. This is called thyristor conduction mode. Thyristor conduction mode. यह आपका पहला मोड है, thyristor conduction mode. And this thyristor conduction mode is from alpha to pi. So it is omega t less than or equal to alpha less than or equal to pi. Okay, it is from alpha to pi. And during this period, what is our load voltage? This is load voltage, and it is same as source voltage. So during this period, load voltage VD is same as source voltage. ये पहला mode है. After this mode is followed by freewheeling mode, when T1 and D2 pair is conducting, T1 and D2. So freewheeling action takes place. So second mode is freewheeling mode. I will write here freewheeling mode. And this freewheeling mode is, you can see, from pi to beta. So it is from pi less than or equal to omega t less than or equal to beta. So it is from pi to beta. And during this freewheeling mode, what is the load voltage? So during the freewheeling action, load is shorted by T1 and T2, so load voltage is 0. So I will write here load voltage is 0. उसके बाद आपका तीसरा मोड आ जाता है. Third mode is from beta to pi plus alpha. Beta to next instant of firing. And during this period, your load is, all the four devices are off, converter is off, load is disconnected from the source. And what is load voltage? Load voltage is equal to its own voltage E. And this period is called coasting period or coasting mode. Coasting mode. And this coasting mode is, you can see, from beta to pi plus alpha. Beta less than or equal to omega t less than or equal to pi plus alpha. And during this coasting mode, what is load voltage? Load voltage is equal to E. So therefore, we have found three intervals. One is thyristor conduction interval, thyristor conduction mode, or I can say thyristor conduction interval. And this interval is from alpha to pi. You can say at alpha, T1 is fired, so T1 D1 pair conducts. So from alpha to pi, your T1 D1 pair conducts, load gets connected to the source, and load voltage is same as remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. That's load voltage is same as source voltage. So thyristor conduction interval is from alpha to pi. I have written here, and during this period your load voltage is equal to source voltage. Second interval is freewheeling interval. So second interval is freewheeling interval, and that is from pi to beta. And during this freewheeling interval, your current freewheels through T1 and D2. Current freewheels through T1 and D2. So load is shorted by this pair of device and load voltage is 0. So freewheeling interval is from pi to beta. You can see it is from pi to beta, and during this period you can see voltage, load voltage is 0. And third and last interval is coasting interval. It is coasting mode, or this interval is called coasting interval. And during this coasting interval, which is from beta to pi plus alpha, your load current has already become equal to 0, so your load is disconnected from the source. So load has its own voltage. Load voltage is equal to E. And this interval is from beta to pi plus alpha. So coasting interval is from beta to pi plus alpha, and during this period, load voltage is equal to E. So therefore, this is the mathematical analysis of this. So you take just one cycle, one half cycle, and see what happens. So this interval, this entire period, so from first firing to next instant of firing, alpha to pi plus alpha, we have divided into 3 intervals. One is thyristor conduction interval, which is from alpha to pi, and during this thyristor conduction interval, load voltage is same as source voltage, as we can see. Second interval is freewheeling interval, which is from pi to beta, and during this freewheeling interval, load voltage is equal to 0. And third interval is from beta to next instant of firing, beta to pi plus alpha, and during this beta to pi plus alpha, your load voltage is equal to E. So this is the analysis. So this is what happens in discontinuous conduction mode of operation. Let us assume now the converter is operating in continuous conduction mode of operation. We will now assume CCM. CCM means continuous conduction mode of operation. Now in the continuous conduction mode of operation, load current never becomes 0. You have just now seen in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, load current starts rising from alpha, reaches maximum value between pi by 2 and pi, and then at beta it becomes 0. So load current is there from alpha to beta, and then pi plus alpha to pi plus beta, and so on. So load current becomes 0. That was discontinuous conduction mode of operation. And in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, we have identified 3 intervals. Thyristor conduction interval, which is from alpha to pi, during which period load voltage is equal to source voltage, Vt is equal to Vs. Then freewheeling interval, which is from pi to beta, during which period load voltage is 0, Vt is equal to 0. And finally, coasting interval, which is from beta to pi plus alpha, during which period current has already become 0 and load voltage is equal to E. Now in this case, continuous conduction mode of operation, we assume that load current never becomes 0. Now the question is, what are the conditions which will make load current continuous? That is, load current never becoming 0. Okay, there must be certain conditions which will make load current either continuous or discontinuous. So if you find the causes for continuous conduction mode of operation, various causes can be. Number 1, smaller delay angle, smaller alpha. Say if alpha is small, there is more average voltage appearing across the load, because you have seen smaller the value of delay angle alpha, more is the average load voltage, and more average load voltage means more power is transferred to the load, and that will cause more large flow of the current, and that will increase the probability of current becoming continuous. This is one reason. Smaller alpha. Alpha is very small. Okay, small alpha will make your current continuous. It can make your current continuous, because small alpha means more average load voltage, and more average load voltage means more load power. More load power means more current, and more current means probability of current becoming continuous is high. This is one reason. Another reason could be smaller E. See, load has its own EMF. When load current flows from top to bottom, and this E has this polarity, and it always opposes the flow of current. Because see, this is your load current ID, and this is the polarity of E. You can see the E opposes the flow of current. But if this E, back EMF, or EMF of the load is small. So it will, small E means it will offer small opposition to the flow of current. So current will be larger in that case. And larger current means that probability of current becoming continuous is higher. So smaller E may also contribute to the condition called continuous conduction mode of operation. It may also be responsible for making current continuous. Third cause may be large load inductance. Your load inductance may be large. Large inductance means large storage of energy. That means current, when load inductance is large, current rises and it takes time for current to reach maximum value. And when then current falls, the current will take more time to fall. And before it becomes equal to zero, next instant of firing will come and current will never become zero. See, just now in the previous case, you have seen that here current rises, then it falls. Okay, if inductance is high, and then this is the next instant of firing. If inductance is very large, current may rise here, it may rise slowly, and then this is, say for example, next instant of fire, it may fall slowly because inductance is large. Large inductance means that the rise of current will be slow and fall of current will also be slow. So current is not falling quickly to zero, it is falling slowly till next instant of firing has come. And when next instant of firing has come, current has not yet reached zero, and then current again starts rising. So this high inductance will also be responsible for making current continuous. Okay, this is the one of the main factors. In some cases, if you want to make current continuous, for example, if your load is a DC motor, which is also modeled as RLE load, sometimes if motor has small inductance and current is discontinuous, we always prefer continuous conduction mode of operation of a DC motor for various reasons. So sometimes to make the motor current continuous, what we do, we add external inductance in the circuit to make overall inductance high and make current continuous in case the load is a DC motor. Okay, so large load inductance is also responsible for making current continuous. Okay, and next is stronger load current. Stronger load current. I mean, your load draws large power, draws strong current, and strong load current means large energy is stored in the inductance, and large storage of energy in the inductance, which is half of Li square, means the probability of current becoming continuous is high. And fifth reason is combination of above. Combination of above. I mean, it may not be only one reason to make current continuous. Sometimes small alpha and small e, these together may make current continuous. Sometimes small alpha and large load inductance may make current continuous. Sometimes small inductance and strong load current may make, smaller E and stronger load current may make, combination of these reasons is also responsible for making load current continuous. So if these conditions or combination of these conditions exist, load current will be continuous. So therefore we will analyze the converter operation for continuous conduction mode of operation, CCM. So it will be clear to us again with the help of waveforms. Now, first of all, I will draw load voltage, source voltage waveform. So this is my source voltage waveform Vs. These are the zero crossings, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. Okay, and this is my E. This is E, load EMF or load voltage. Then I will show you firing instants. Let us fire converter here at alpha min. This is alpha min, and you already know this alpha min at this point P is equal to sine inverse E by Vm. Let us issue first firing pulse. I am now showing gating current pattern. First firing pulse is issued here. Next firing pulse is issued here. Here thyristor T1 is fired. Here thyristor T2 is fired. Here again thyristor T1 is fired, and so on. So this is the firing pulse pattern. So this is alpha. This instant is pi plus alpha, and so on. Now let me show you the load voltage and load current. Pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. This is E. Okay, first firing instant takes place here. So it's somewhere here. So your E, you just, this is E. This is E. This is the first firing instant. After a delay of alpha electrical degrees, thyristor T1 is fired. Okay, and here T2 is fired. Here T1 is fired again. So when thyristor T1 is fired, T1 D1 goes into conduction, load gets connected to the source, and load receives remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. Let me first of all show you the load current. Since we are assuming that load current is continuous, so I will not start from zero. I will assume that previously current was flowing. So I will start from here. So current is rising. It is reaching peak value somewhere here. And then current starts falling. But I will show you that current is not becoming zero. It is decreasing before it becomes zero. Next firing takes place and current again rises. It reaches peak value. And before it reaches zero, next firing takes place. And therefore your load current is continuous. So this is your load current, ID. It is continuous. It is continuously flowing. At no instant is it becoming zero. Now this is very interesting. So at omega t equal to alpha, thyristor T1 is fired. So T1 D1 pair conducts, load gets connected to the source, current flows like this. So load receives the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage, and this is the remaining segment. So that means from 0 to alpha. That means previously also current was flowing from 0 to alpha. Your load voltage is 0. So from alpha to pi, load voltage is equal to source voltage. Remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. So this is your load voltage Vd, and it is same as source voltage Vs, but positive. Now this is pi, and next instant of firing is pi plus alpha. So at omega t equal to pi, your source voltage becomes zero, load voltage also becomes zero, but load current is not zero. Load current is still flowing. Now I have already told you, when load current is still flowing, load current will freewheel through T1 and D2. This is the easiest path for current to flow. Okay, so T1 is already conducting. Previously T1 D1 was conducting. Now this is the freewheeling interval. During this period, T1 D2 pair will conduct, and when T1 D2 pair is conducting, it is shorting the load terminals, and load voltage becomes zero during this period. And at pi plus alpha, thyristor T2 is fired. When T2 is fired, T2 D2 pair conducts, and load again gets connected to the source, and load voltage is again equal to positive source voltage, and that's it. This is the load voltage, and it is same as source voltage, positive voltage. So that means from pi plus alpha to 2 pi, T2 D2 pair is conducting, and from 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha, next instant of firing, what is the pair of devices which is conducting? Source voltage has become zero, load voltage has also become zero. But load current is not zero, it is still flowing. So load current will freewheel through T2 D1. So freewheeling action will take place through T2 D1 pair. And since load is shorted, load terminals are shorted by T2 D1 pair. So load voltage becomes zero and then repeats. So this is the nature of load voltage. Now we can see here we have only two intervals. We have thyristor conduction interval and we have freewheeling interval. There is no coasting interval. The question is, E is there. Load has its own EMF, but this E does not show its presence if the load current is continuous. See, E shows its presence only when load gets disconnected from the source. And that is possible only when load current becomes zero. See, when load current becomes zero means load current becoming zero means load is disconnected from the source, and at that time load voltage is equal to E. But if your load current is not becoming zero at all, okay, then E does not show its presence. For example, from alpha to pi, T1 D1 pair is conducting and load current is flowing. And what is the load voltage? Load voltage is not equal to E. It is same as source voltage. And from pi to pi plus alpha, load current is still flowing, but load current is freewheeling through T1 and D2. And through this entire interval from pi to pi plus alpha, freewheeling action takes place. And what is load voltage? Load voltage is again not equal to E. Your load is short circuited by this pair of devices and load voltage is 0. So E does not appear anywhere. And then starts the next firing, T2, D2. When T2, D2 pair is conducting, load again gets connected to source. So load voltage is again equal to positive source voltage. And then freewheeling takes place through T2, D1, and load voltage again through freewheeling path becomes 0. So therefore, since load current is continuous, load is either getting connected to the source and receives source voltage, or load freewheels through T1, D2 or through T2, D1, and during the freewheeling action, load voltage is 0. So therefore, this load EMF E does not show its presence at all in the load voltage waveform when continuous current mode of operation is there. So this is your ID and this is VD. You can see although E is there, but this E does not show its presence in the load. This E does not appear at all in the load voltage. It appears only in the discontinuous conduction mode of operation, previous case. It does not show its presence when the load current is continuous. So in this case, the circuit behaves simply as an RL load. E is, irrelevant. It does not show its presence in the load voltage. Load voltage is its thyristor conduction interval T1, D1 from alpha to pi, during which period VD is equal to Vs, source voltage. And then you have freewheeling interval pi to pi plus alpha, during which period load voltage is 0. So E does not show its presence at all. Okay. Now the question is, here I have taken firing angle equal to I alpha min. With continuous conduction mode of operation, we can have any value of firing angle or delay angle. I can have alpha even less than alpha min. Our alpha can be less than alpha min. That means it can be less than sine inverse E by Vm. So alpha min, let me tell you, for continuous conduction mode of operation can be as low as 0 degree. You can start firing off your thyristor converter right at omega t equal to 0. It was not possible for discontinuous conduction mode of operation because in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, E was showing its presence. For example, in discontinuous conduction mode of operation, here E was, for all these instants, E was greater than Vs. Since E was greater than instantaneous value of source voltage, thyristor T1, it was reverse biased, or T2 was also reverse biased. And even if you issue the firing pulse, T1 or T2 were not conducting. But that is not the case for continuous conduction mode of operation, because for continuous conduction mode of operation, E is not showing its presence in the load. Since E does not show its presence in the load voltage, you can reduce the fire. Here, this is the firing angle or delay angle. You can have firing angle even below this, because E is not present at all. It does not show its presence at all. It was E which was reverse bias in T1 or T2 below this point. But since E does not appear in the load voltage at all, so you can have any value of delay angle. You can have alpha even less than alpha min. That means less than sine inverse E by Vm. And alpha min can be as low as 0 degree. Let me show you alpha waveforms for alpha 0 degree. Let me show you alpha equal to 0 degree. This is again Vs and this is again E. Now I will show you the firing pulse pattern. Firing pulses are Ig. First firing pulse is issued at omega t. So here alpha is equal to 0 degree. And second firing pulse for here T1 is fired. Here T2 is fired. Here again at 2 pi T1 is fired. So alpha is 0 degree. Okay. And your load voltage will be like this. This is pi, this is 2 pi. Since you are firing your thyristor T1 right at alpha equal to 0 degree, so full positive half cycle of voltage will appear across the load. And then T2 is fired, so T1, D1 will conduct during this period, T1, D1, and load voltage is same as positive half cycle of source voltage. And at omega t equal to pi, okay, thyristor T2 is fired, so T2, D2 pair conducts and another positive half cycle appears across the load. So here T2 D2 conducts. Even freewheeling action also does not appear in this case. Then again T1 D1 conduct. T1 D1, and this is for example your E, but E does not show its presence. E does not show its presence. Now what will be the pattern of current? So current will be like this. It will be decreasing, increasing, then decreasing, increasing. This is ID. So this waveform is true only if the current was continuous. If current was discontinuous, then it's not possible for us to have alpha as low as 0 degree. In fact, in that case, alpha min will be equal to this, or alpha has to be greater than V. You cannot have alpha below alpha min. But for continuous conduction mode of operation, since E does not show its presence in the load voltage, so you can have alpha as low as 0. In that case, you will have only thyristor conduction modes, T1 D1, T2 D2, T1 D1, and this is the nature of load voltage waveform. Now, one very important point you have to understand from here is that the general notion is that when a thyristor goes into conduction, current starts rising. You have seen, you just go through the previous waveforms. There you have seen, as soon as the thyristor pair T1 D1 conducts, thyristor pair T1 D1 conducts, current starts rising, and then it falls. And when T2 D2 pair conducts, current again rises. So T1 D1 starts conducting from here, and current starts rising, and then it falls. Before it becomes 0, T2 D2 pair is conducting, and current again rises. But that is not the case here. Here in this case, for alpha equal to 0 degree, T1 D1 starts conducting right from at this point. But current does not start rising from here. Current first it first decreases up to this point, and then it increases. This can be explained mathematically like this. See, if you draw the equivalent circuit, let us suppose T1 D1 or T2 D2 is conducting. This is your source voltage Vs. This is the pair of devices which is conducting, T1 D1 or T2 D2. Because for alpha equal to 0, either T1 D1 for positive half cycle, and for negative half cycle, T2 D2 is conducting. And this is your load. Load has three components, R, L, and E. And this is the load current ID. Now, when I draw this equivalent circuit, I can mathematically write, I can apply Kirchhoff's voltage law. Here I can write Vs is equal to, applying KVL, Vs is equal to this voltage drop R into ID plus L dId by dt plus E. Okay, so Vs is equal to this drop plus E. Simple, KVL. So let us assume load resistance is nearly 0. So let us assume resistance is negligible. So therefore, in that case, Vs minus E will be equal to L dId by dt. So this will give us dId, rate of rise of current, dId by dt equal to Vs minus E by L. Okay, so this is very important. This is very important. This means dId by dt will be greater than 0. That is, it will be positive if Vs is greater than E. If Vs is greater than E, what is dId by dt? It is positive, it is greater than 0 if Vs is greater than E. And this dId by dt will be less than 0, that means negative if Vs is less than E. That is clearly shown by this equation. If Vs is less than E, what is dId by dt? It is negative. Okay, so positive dId by dt means when dId by dt is greater than 0, positive means current is rising. And di by dt less than 0, negative means that current is falling. So apply this logic here. Now you can here see this is E and this is your Vs. Now you can see from this point to this point, which is more, E or Vs? From this point to this point, E is greater than Vs. And when E is greater than Vs or Vs is less than E, what is dId by dt? It is less than 0. dId by dt less than 0 means current has negative slope, current is falling, so current is falling. And then from this point to this point, Vs is greater than E. You can see now Vs is greater than E. And when Vs is greater than E, what is dId by dt? It is greater than 0, positive. So it has a positive slope. Positive slope means current is rising. So using this logic, you can see. So therefore, although your thyristor T1 D1 was fired right at omega t equal to 0, current does not start rising from the instant thyristor is conducting. Current first falls up to this point and then it rises. So therefore, the notion that current starts rising right when T1 D1 or T2 D2 pair is fired or when they start conducting, this notion is wrong. I will write here the notion that ID starts rising that means dId by dt becomes greater than 0 right from conduction of T1 D1 T1 or T2, right from firing of T1 or T2 is wrong. For discontinuous conduction mode of operation or for previous cases where alpha was taken as equal to alpha min or greater than alpha min, you can see in the previous waveforms, when T1 is fired or when T2 is fired, then only current starts rising. But if your alpha is less than alpha min, say for example in this case, alpha is 0 degree. So since alpha is 0 degree, T1 starts conducting right from here, but current does not rise. dId by dt is negative. And then when T2 starts conducting, it starts conducting right at this zero crossing, but current is not rising, it is decreasing. And then it starts rising after this point. So the notion that ID starts rising, that is dId by dt, becomes positive, greater than 0, right from the firing of T1 or T2 is wrong for alpha less than alpha min. I mean, what is your alpha min? This is alpha min. If your alpha is less than alpha min, okay, then this notion is not true. Only if alpha is equal to alpha min or alpha is greater than alpha min for continuous conduction mode of operation, then your current starts rising right at the moment when T1 or T2 is fired. But if your alpha is less than this value, for example, in this case alpha is 0, it is less than this, dId by dt greater than 0, that's current starts rising right from the firing of T1 or T2 is wrong. This is not correct. So this is very important point you have to understand. And one more point is that if you want to draw the waveform for source current, this is your source voltage, this is your source current. Your source current starts rising, it rises, and then it is like this, and then this is the nature of source current. This is source current IS. Okay, and in the previous case, for discontinuous conduction mode of operation, if you remember, I have forgotten to show you the source current waveform. However, you can continue, you can draw the source current waveform. Your load voltage was, let me roughly draw the load voltage. You can make these, you can add the source current in the that waveform itself. You don't need to draw it separately. This is E, sorry. This is E. This is, if you remember, this was your load voltage waveform. Your load voltage was, this was your load voltage waveform. This is alpha. यहाँ से यहाँ तक आपकी load voltage E थी, it was E, and then Vs. और उसके बाद आपका freewheeling interval था. There was आपकी करंट यहाँ राइज हो रही थी, यहाँ फॉल हो रही थी ID, और यहाँ से यहाँ तक T1 D1 कंडक्ट कर रहे थे और यहाँ से यहाँ तक T1 D2 कंडक्ट कर रहे थे फ्री व्हीलिंग. ओके, उसके बाद यहाँ से यहाँ तक आपकी लोड वोल्टेज 0 थी, उसके बाद आपकी लोड वोल्टेज फिर से E हो गई, एंड देन this was your load current. Now you can see when T1 D1 pair is conducting, load current is same, source current is same as load current. So T1 D1 pair यहाँ से यहाँ कंडक्ट कर रही है. So this is your source current. Source current 0 हो रही है. उसके बाद from this is pi and this is beta. From pi to beta, load current is still flowing, but it is freewheeling. It is not coming from the source. So source current becomes zero right at this instant. उसके बाद आपकी नेगेटिव हाफ साइकिल में आपकी सोर्स करंट माइनस आई डी के बराबर हो जाती है. दिस इज माइनस आई डी. So this is your source current IS for discontinuous conduction mode of operation, and this is source current for continuous conduction mode of operation for alpha equal to 0 degree. So this completes our discussions on single phase half controlled converter, single phase semi converter for RLE load. Here we have taken two different loading conditions. Discontinuous conduction mode of operation in the first case, assuming that current is becoming zero at some instant. And in the second case, we considered continuous conduction mode of operation. In the discontinuous conduction mode of operation, we have identified three intervals. First is thyristor conduction interval, that is from alpha to pi, during which period load voltage is equal to source voltage. It is positive segment of source voltage. And then freewheeling interval from pi to beta, during which period your load voltage is zero. And then coasting interval, beta to pi plus alpha, during which period your load voltage is equal to E. And in the continuous conduction mode of operation, we have seen that there may be either two modes. That is, if current is continuous, you will have thyristor conduction mode and freewheeling mode only. And in the thyristor conduction mode, load voltage is equal to source voltage, and in the freewheeling interval, load voltage is zero. Okay, and I have also the E does not show its presence in the load voltage at all, because current is not becoming discontinuous at all. And we have also seen that in the continuous conduction mode of operation, we can reduce our firing angle to as low as 0. Our delay angle, if this is your alpha min, you can have delay angle below alpha min, as low as alpha equal to 0 degree, for which I have already drawn the waveforms. So if alpha is equal to 0 degree, so this is the waveform. In this case, you have only thyristor conduction modes, T1, D1, T2, D2, T1, D1, T2, D2, and so on. And this is the nature of load voltage waveform. So E again does not show its presence in the load voltage. And another thing is that for if your alpha is less than alpha min, for example, in this case, alpha is 0 degree, it is less than this alpha min, the notion that load current rises right at the instant of firing of T1 or right at the instant of firing of T2 is wrong. For example, in this case, you have seen, although T1 is fired right at alpha equal to 0, but load current does not rise. It is still falling till it reaches this. Using this logic, you can find when is load current decreasing, falling, and when it is rising. So the notion that load current rises right at the instant of firing of T1 or T2 for alpha less than alpha min is wrong. Okay. So with this, we will continue our, we have concluded our discussions on operation of a single phase semi-converter for different loading conditions, for purely resistive load, for RL load, that is sufficiently inductive load, which we have discussed in yesterday's class, and today we discussed for RLE load, active load, for two different loading, for two different modes, discontinuous conduction mode and continuous conduction mode of operation. And finally, to end our discussions on single phase semi-converter, I will discuss in the end something with you, something very important, which is called commutation failure. Commutation failure is a phenomenon which occurs in single phase bridge converters, semi-converters as well as full converters. I will discuss it with you in case of a single phase semi-converter. For that purpose, I will draw the power circuit diagram of a single phase semi-converter again. Let us assume the converter is feeding a sufficiently inductive load. This is T1, T2, power diodes D1, D2. This is your source voltage Vs. This is source current Is. And load is sufficiently inductive, so load can be modeled as a current source ID. And this is load voltage Vd. Fine. If you remember in previous lecture, I have already told you that the firing of an incoming value causes turning on of an incoming value causes reverse bias across the outgoing value. That is turning off of outgoing value. I mean, when T2 is fired, it reverse biases T1 and turns it off. Similarly, when T1 is fired, it reverse biases T2 and turns it off. It's very important. The question is, let us suppose previously T1, D1 pair was conducting, and at that time T2, D2 were off. And In the negative half cycle, you have to fire thyristor T2. As soon as thyristor T2 is fired, it impresses negative reverse bias across T1 and turns it off. We know that when a thyristor is reverse biased, only then it regains its reverse voltage blocking capability. The question is, for how much time should this reverse bias be applied across an outgoing value to ensure that it is completely turned off and it has regained its forward voltage blocking capability? For that purpose, you already know that turn off time of a thyristor. We have already discussed turn on and turn off transients of a thyristor. During this turn off time of a thyristor, it has three components: turn off delay time, and then reverse recovery time, and then charge recombination time. And during reverse recovery time, the outer two regions, because of excess minority carriers in the outer two regions, there is negative current, reverse recovery current, which flows. And when that reverse recovery current flows, that removes excess minority charge carriers from outer two layers. And then we have to wait for some more time, which is called charge recombination time, during which period internal recombination in the inner two layers takes place. And when that process is over, the thyristor is completely turned off, and we say that it has regained its forward voltage blocking capability. Regaining forward voltage blocking capability means that if you forward bias this thyristor again, making anode positive with respect to cathode, it should not turn off without the application of firing pulse. So therefore, when a reverse bias has to be applied across a thyristor, it has to be applied for a period at least equal to its turn off period. If reverse bias is applied across a thyristor for a period less than turn off period of thyristor, the thyristor, although current through the thyristor has become zero, but it is not turned off, it has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability, which means when a positive voltage appears across it, when it is forward bias again, it will immediately go into conduction even without the application of firing pulse. So using this concept we can use in this converter circuit. Let us assume alpha is very, very large. Let me first of all draw source voltage waveform. These are zero crossings, pi, 2 pi, and so on. And let us assume this is alpha. Alpha is greater than 90 degrees. Alpha. It's around 150, 160 degrees here. So here thyristor, firing pulse is issued, and thyristor T1 is fired. And next firing pulse is issued here. And here, what is this delay angle? This is pi plus alpha. And this is alpha, this is pi plus alpha. And here firing pulse is issued to thyristor T2. And then again, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1. So, sorry, not here, here. Firing pulse is again issued to thyristor T1. I am assuming alpha greater than 90, large value of alpha. Now see, it is very interesting to see what happens. Let me draw the load voltage waveform. 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. My load voltage would have been like this. My first instant of firing is somewhere here. See, first firing pulse issued. This is alpha. This is the positive half cycle of source voltage, and first firing pulse is issued to thyristor T1. This is the positive half cycle of source voltage. Thyristor T1 is already forward biased. It is waiting for firing pulse, and it is issued after a large delay angle, around 150 to 160 degrees, and it immediately turns on, and T1 D1 turns on, and remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage appears across the load. This is the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. From 0 to alpha, load voltage is 0, and from alpha to pi, load voltage is equal to the remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage. So during this period, what is the pair of valve devices which is conducting? T1 D1. Fine. उसके बाद क्या होता है? Let us assume our load current. This is my load current ID. It is constant. Since load, I am assuming sufficiently inductive load. Load is modeled by a current source, so load current is constant. That means although source voltage has become 0 here, load voltage has also become 0 here, till next instant of firing, which is pi plus alpha, but load current is not 0. What will happen to load current? Load current will freewheel through T1 and D2. And during this freewheeling action, what is load voltage? Load voltage is 0. So load voltage is 0. And during this period, freewheeling action takes place. T1 and D2 are conducting. And then at this instant, you can see firing pulse is issued to thyristor T2 because source voltage has already reversed its polarity. T2 is waiting for firing pulse. After a delay of large delay of around 160 degrees, firing pulse is issued to T2. D2 immediately goes into conduction, and remaining segment of half cycle, and that's positive voltage, gets applied across load. This is load voltage, and during this period T2, D2 are on. Fine. And then from 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha, current, since load voltage is now 0, source voltage is also 0, but current is not 0, current is flowing. So freewheeling will take place through T2, D1. Already we have explained, we have understood this. So since load is shorted by this T2, D1, so load voltage is 0 again. And during this period, freewheeling takes place through T2, D1, and then repeats. Now what I want to, so this is T1, D1. Before T1, D1, that means previously, if you assume previously conduction was there, T2, D1 would have been conducting, T2, D1. So previously there was freewheeling through T2, D1, and then T1 was fired here, T1, D1, and then T1, D2, then T2, D2, then T2, D1, and then T1, D1 again. So that means T1, D1 से पहले T2, D1 है. If this is T1, D1, T2, D1. T2, D1 is nothing but freewheeling. Now we can see from 0 to alpha, T2 and D1 were conducting and freewheeling action was taking place. That means what T2 was conducting previously, right? Fine. And at omega t equal to alpha, thyristor T1 was fired because आपकी source voltage positive हो गई. But previously freewheeling was taking place like this. So T2 was conducting. Now at omega t equal to alpha, thyristor T1 is fired. As soon as thyristor T1 is fired, ये on हो जाता है, thyristor T1 on हो जाता है, and this positive terminal comes here. And therefore what happens to thyristor T2, which was previously conducting? It is reverse biased and it stops conducting. That means firing of incoming device T1 causes reverse bias or turning off of outgoing device T2. So T2 turns off and it is reverse biased. Now the question is, for how much time this reverse bias should be applied across thyristor T2 so that it is completely turned off and it regains forward voltage blocking capability. The time period for which this reverse bias should be applied across T2 should be at least equal to its own turn off time, which you can find from the data sheet of the thyristor. Okay, now कितना time आपके पास है? Your T1 is on for this time. आप देख सकते हैं your T1 is on for this time, and during this time when T1 is on, it reverse biases thyristor T2. So this time is called gamma. Gamma is called extinction angle. Extinction angle. And extinction angle means for this period of time when T1 is conducting, reverse bias gets applied across thyristor T2. And if your alpha, so for example, let us assume here alpha was equal to 160 degrees. What is total this half cycle? This is 180 degrees. Therefore, what is gamma? Gamma is 180 degrees minus alpha. That is 180 degrees minus 160 degrees. That is 20 degrees. So that means for 20 degrees, your thyristor T2 is reverse biased because of conduction of T1. So thyristor T2 is reverse biased. So 20 degrees, if you convert this degrees into time, you see it is in terms of degrees. You can convert this degrees into time. And this, let us call this time as T gamma. And it will be definitely greater than turn off time of the device. And it will ensure that the reverse bias is applied across thyristor T2 for a time T gamma, which is, in terms of degrees, it is 20 degrees. And you can convert degrees into time. That's very easy. So in terms of time, this 20 degree means T gamma microseconds, and it is much larger than turn off time. It will be definitely much larger than turn off time of the thyristor, and it will ensure that the thyristor is turned off. Let me tell you this gamma, for ensuring that the thyristor is turned off, this gamma should be around 15 degrees. Okay, the experience shows that gamma should be 15 degrees. That means whenever a reverse bias is applied across a particular device, it should be there for how much time? in terms of degree, 15 degrees. But how much time, for how much time you are applying reverse bias across T2? You are applying for 20 degrees. So T gamma is greater than T off. So since 20 degrees is greater than 15 degrees, it will ensure that T2 has turned off. Fine. उसके बाद freewheeling action हो जाती है. When freewheeling action takes place, this is your T1 and D2 conduct. उसके बाद negative half cycle source voltage का आ जाता है. Negative half cycle means this is now positive with respect to this, and thyristor T2 is waiting for firing. Okay. Now at omega t equal to pi plus alpha, firing pulse is issued to thyristor T2. Now thyristor T2 immediately goes into conduction. T2 goes into conduction. T2 D2 conduct, and since T2 goes into conduction, here positive यहाँ आ जाएगा. And what happens to T1? T1 was previously conducting. It is immediately reverse biased. So the firing of incoming device causes reverse bias across the outgoing device, or the firing of incoming device causes turning off of outgoing device. अब T2 की फायरिंग से T1 रिवर्स बायस हो जाता है, ऑफ हो जाता है. तो आपका T1 यहाँ पे ऑफ हो जाता है, T2 ऑन हो जाता है. अब ये गामा कितना है? फॉर हाउ मच टाइम इज दिस रिवर्स बायस applied across T2? For same period, 20 degrees, which is greater than turn off time of T1. No problem. T1 gets sufficient time to turn off, and it regains forward voltage blocking capability. Now let us assume that alpha is still greater. I mean, it is greater. It is very, very high. Now it will be very interesting to see what happens if alpha is very, very large. This is again your source voltage, 0, pi, 2 pi, and so on. Again, I will show you. Now I will show alpha very, very large. Alpha is around 170 degrees. Alpha is equal to, let us assume alpha is 170 degrees. ये देखिए. This is the firing pulse pattern. Here thyristor T1 is fired, and here thyristor T2 is fired, and then again here thyristor T1 is fired. So this is alpha equal to 170 degrees, and this is pi plus alpha. Let us see what happens to the load voltage. Now something unusual will happen. Something undesirable will happen. Pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so on. Your load voltage would have been like this. Now, this is the positive half cycle of source voltage. Positive half cycle of source voltage means plus minus. I am firing thyristor T1 after a very large delay around 170 degrees. So what is gamma? Gamma should be equal to 15 degrees. So at alpha equal to 170 degrees, I am firing thyristor T1. तो यहाँ से this is alpha equal to, तो ये मेरा alpha equal to 170 degrees. Here I am firing thyristor T1, and for a very, very small period of time, इससे पहले voltage 0 थी, a small voltage will get applied across load, very small voltage, इतना portion, because T1 D1 conducts, remaining segment of positive half cycle of source voltage, which is only this much, it applies across the load. And this is my gamma. देखिए ये pi है मेरा, and this angle is my gamma. So now in this case, what is my gamma? Gamma is 180 minus alpha. And what is my alpha? My alpha is 170 degrees, as you can see. So my gamma is only 10 degrees, which is less than, let me call this gamma min, which is less than gamma min, desirable. So that means, देखिए इससे पहले, what is the pair of device which was conducting? इससे पहले T2 D1 conduct कर रहे थे. T2 D1 conduct कर रहे थे, और यहाँ से यहाँ तक T1 D1 conduct करेंगे. T1 D1 pair. And when T1, see, now it is interesting to see, when T1 conducts, आपका T1 जब conduct कर रहा है, ये negative है, ये positive यहाँ हो जाएगा, उससे आपका T2 reverse bias हो जाएगा, क्योंकि because previously T2 was conducting because of the freewheeling action. As soon as thyristor T1 is fired, it applies reverse bias across T2. But problem is that it applies reverse bias across T2 for gamma degrees, which is very, very small, which is less than, which is only 10 degrees, which is less than gamma min. And therefore we can say T gamma is less than turn off time of the device. Turn off time of the device may be, let us say, 150 microseconds. And let us assume that this 10 degrees in terms of time is only 100 microseconds. Turn off time of the device is 150 microseconds, but reverse bias gets applied across the device only for 100 microseconds. So reverse bias is applied across the device T2 for a period which is less than its turn off time. So therefore, although it is reverse biased, but it is reverse biased for a period less than its turn off time, so it has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability. And when it has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability, what will happen? उसके बाद negative half cycle source voltage का आ जाता है. Negative half cycle means this becomes positive, this becomes negative. And जब ये positive हो जाता है, that means आपका thyristor T2 forward bias हो जाता है. If it would have regained forward voltage blocking capability, it would not have turned on. ये कहाँ पे turn on हो जाता है? ये pi plus alpha यहाँ पे pi plus alpha पे turn on हो जाता है. It would have waited for firing pulse और इसकी firing pulse यहाँ आ जाती है. But since when T1 was on, the reverse bias across it was applied for a very small period, 10 degrees, which is less than its turn off time. It has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability. And as soon as source voltage becomes negative half cycle comes, ये forward bias हो जाता है. And since it has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability, it will not wait for this instant, firing instant. It will immediately go into conduction because it has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability. And since T2 immediately goes into conduction, T2 के साथ D2 भी conduct हो जाएगा, T2 D2 pair will conduct, and your load voltage becomes equal to entire positive half cycle of source voltage. तो ये आपकी लोड वोल्टेज हो जाएगी. अदरवाइज आपकी लोड वोल्टेज ऐसे होनी चाहिए थी, ऐसे यहाँ T1 D1 and here T2 D2, but during this entire period T2 D2 will conduct. So entire negative half cycle as positive voltage will appear across the load. उसके बाद फ्री व्हीलिंग शुरू हो जाएगी. T2 D2 कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं, करंट इज कंटिन्यूसली फ्लोइंग, करंट तो कंटिन्यूसली फ्लो कर रही. उसके बाद फ्री व्हीलिंग हो जाएगी थ्रू T2 D1. सो थ्रू अप टू दिस पॉइंट T2 D1 के थ्रू फ्री व्हीलिंग हो जाएगी. उसके बाद इस इंस्टेंट पे आप T1 को फायर कर रहे हो और T1 फायर हो जाएगा. एंड दिस इज द वोल्टेज अक्रॉस लोड. इट विल बी वेरी स्मॉल पॉजिटिव सेगमेंट ऑफ वोल्टेज जब आप T1 कंडक्ट कर रहे हो. उसके बाद फिर से हो जाएगा, फिर यहाँ T1 D1 कंडक्ट हो जाएगा. उसके बाद T2 D2 फिर से कंडक्ट हो जाएगा बिकॉज T1 इज अगेन ऑन एंड इट अप्लाइज रिवर्स बायस अक्रॉस T2 फॉर ओनली 10 degrees. So that means T gamma is less than T off. So T2 will never regain its forward voltage blocking capability. Whenever forward bias gets applied across it, it will not wait for firing pulse, it will immediately go into conduction. This is what happens to your load voltage. What should have been your load voltage? Your load voltage for alpha equal to 170 degrees would have been like this. देखिए, it's very interesting. It would have been like this. Small. This should have been your load voltage. यहाँ T1 D1, यहाँ फिर फ्री व्हीलिंग T1 D2, यहाँ T2 D2, यहाँ फ्री व्हीलिंग थ्रू T2 D1, and then again T1 D1. So this should have been your load voltage, small segments. But what happens because of the failure of thyristor T2 to commutate? Commutate means to turn off. It does not turn off. Because it is turned off. Reverse bias across it is for a period only 10 degrees, which is less than gamma min 15 degrees. That means reverse bias across it is only for a period which is less than its turn off time, and it does not regain its forward voltage blocking capability. That means as soon as positive voltage comes across it, that means during every negative half cycle it is forward biased and it triggers. ये positive half cycle है, इसमें आपकी load voltage है. जो ही negative half cycle आ जाता है, since T2 has not regained its forward voltage blocking capability, ये immediately trigger हो जाएगा, and even without firing pulse, an entire half cycle will appear across the load. And then this is again positive half cycle. उसके बाद फिर से negative half cycle हो जाएगा और ये फिर से trigger करेगा even at omega t equal to 0. Even without waiting for firing pulse. Therefore, आपकी load voltage, instead of becoming this, it becomes something like this. So, isn't it like a half-wave rectified voltage? आपकी half-wave rectified voltage ऐसे होती है. If you assume that these are very very small, ये आप neglect करोगे small positive voltages यहाँ, so this voltage is almost half wave rectified voltage. That is why this is called a half waving effect. This gives half waving effect. Now this half waving effect is because of the commutation failure, because your thyristor T2 did not regain its forward voltage blocking capability, so it did not commutate. It did not commutate means it did not turn off. Whenever it was forward biased during negative half cycle, it turned on without firing pulse. So this is how commutation failure occurs. So therefore there is a restriction on the higher value of alpha. You cannot have alpha max very very close to 180 degrees. You have seen हमने इस केस में alpha max लिया था 170 degrees और आपका extinction angle gamma 180 minus 170, that is 10 degrees आ गया था, which is less than gamma min 15 degrees, because for 10 degrees the reverse bias applied across the device is less than its turn off time, and device does not regain its forward voltage blocking capability, so it undergoes commutation failure. As soon as negative half cycle of source voltage comes, it is forward biased. Without waiting for firing pulse, it goes into conduction. So this is called commutation failure. So therefore alpha max, as maximum delay angle, has to be such that it can be say around 160 to 165 degrees. If alpha max is 160, what is gamma? Gamma is 180 minus 120 degrees. और अगर आपका alpha max 165 है, your gamma is 180 minus 165 15 degrees, जो आपका threshold है. But if your alpha max is say 170 degrees, greater than 165 degrees, then commutation failure will occur. So therefore maximum value of delay angle of converter cannot be more than 165 degrees, because gamma min, minimum extinction angle, has to be 15 degrees. If a reverse bias across the device appears for a period less than 15 degrees, that means that the reverse bias is applied for outgoing device for a period less than its turn off period, and it undergoes commutation failure. It does not regain its forward voltage blocking capability, and it turns on whenever it is forward biased without the firing pulse, and in that case it's called commutation failure, and your load voltage, instead of becoming controlled voltage like this, it becomes uncontrolled half wave rectified voltage, and that is why this is called half waving effect. So this explains commutation failure concept in single phase bridge converters. Similar effect will occur in fully controlled converter. I have explained it for semi converter. For full converter also, this commutation failure will occur if your alpha is greater than 165 degrees, alpha max is greater than 165 degrees. So yeah, whenever you design your control logic circuit, and if you want very very small average output voltage, you have to increase alpha max. So but you have to, when you increase alpha, the maximum delay angle should not be greater than 165 degrees to avoid commutation failure and half waving effect. So with this, I will end my today's lecture. Please go through these two lectures, yesterday's lecture and today's lecture. In the previous lecture and today's lecture, we have completed our discussions on analysis of single phase half controlled converter or semi converter for different loading conditions: purely resistive load, RL load, and RLE load. And we have also discussed, in RLE load, we have discussed discontinuous conduction mode of operation as well as continuous conduction mode of operation. And we have also discussed a concept called commutation failure. So please go through these lectures, these two lectures. In case of any difficulty, you can ask me the queries. You are most welcome. Thank you very much.